Well, a bit of a mixed day on the markets. For his take, I spoke to Martin Lakos from Macquarie Private Wealth. Martin Lakos, another drifter of a day, really, ahead of tomorrow's end of financial quarter.
Yeah, Tiggy, you certainly summed it up. It really did drift. We're up about 28 points on the back of some better news out of the US in terms of the markets, although US consumer confidence was as weak as had been expected. But there's certainly more corporate activity taking place in the US, which got that market rallying almost 140 points from its low, closing up about 48 points at that close level. We just couldn't hold our gains, Tiki. We were up 28, as I mentioned, and closed down 25. Fairly disappointing. It was sold down on some fairly thin turnover, and it did appear there might have been some portfolio selling coming to the market this afternoon. But despite that, the Aussie dollar was very solid, holding up around that 96.7 level, saw a high of 96.75 against the US, and that's still an indicator there's a reasonable amount of confidence for the market in $8 assets.
Were any sectors particularly strong?
Well, nothing really particularly strong, although materials held up pretty well. I guess that's part and parcel of what the $8 is holding up as well. So materials held up pretty well, and utilities, interestingly enough. So maybe there's a bit of money heading back towards the defensive sectors. Once again, financials are a little bit weaker. That's broadly speaking the banks. And also the staples, the consumer staples, were much weaker today. Mind you, they've been one of the big performing sectors through the last 8% gain through September for the market. So no wonder we had a little bit of profit taking there.
Now, just on a couple of stocks, Linus has announced something of a mysterious rare earths contract with a Japanese buyer. What can you tell us about that?
Well, not so much mysterious. Linus is involved in rare earths, and they use those obviously in green environmental catalytic converters as an example. They've announced they've secured an 11,000 tonne supply contract in the first stage to a unnamed Japanese group. Now, they're going to process these rare earths in Malaysia. So the market liked that announcement, and the stock was up 2.5% or 3.5 cents to $1.36. There was no announcement in regards to the size of the contract or who that end consumer was.
And uranium miner Paladin Energy finds itself in a somewhat awkward situation after pulling out of a takeover deal involving assets in Nigeria.
Yeah, earlier this week, Paladin had announced that they've got a scrip bid for NGM Resources, which is basically a uranium exploration and producer in Niger. And the bid was highly conditional, and one of those conditions was that there was no terrorism or warlike activities to erupt in Niger. Unfortunately, that has happened, and it looks like Paladin is trying to remove or allow its bid to expire on the 8th of October. It now looks like NGM is taking them to task. They've gone to the takeovers panel challenging that decision by Paladin. So we'll have to keep that in mind. Paladin held up fairly solidly around $3.70, but NGM, which is about a $16 million market cap, a relatively smallish company, was down nearly 38% on the back of that news today.
Martin Lakos, thanks for talking to Late Line Business again.
Thanks, Tiki. Always a pleasure.
To the other major movers on the local share market now, New Farm continued to suffer after yesterday's disappointing results, down nearly 6%. Polo Gas continued its stellar rise after a takeover deal, up another 7%. BHP Billiton was down a little after announcing plans to stretch its Olympic Dam expansion into 3 phases, each costing around more than $5 billion, while gold miner Newcrest bounced back with the overnight surge in gold prices. Turning to currency markets, the dollar is nudging 97 US cents and is up against most other major currencies. On to the commodity markets now, and in New York, oil is down a little, while gold hit a 10th record high in 12 sessions.